प्रणाम गुरुजी। No, no, sir.
Puneet, am I audible to you now?
Yes, sir. You're audible now. Yes.
Good.
Pranam, sir.
Pranam.
So yes, audible and as well as visible.
Okay.
Pranam, sir. Aruna Bhaiya.
Yes, Pranam Harunaba. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. You're audible, and also we can see you, sir. Your deck is also visible.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Pranam. Subhashish, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
So we will begin now. Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyan Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajanghreye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sarvebhyo Namah. We are in the middle of the 12th chapter now. We have completed 16 shlokas, and today we will do the remaining 4 shlokas of the chapter. In the last class, we heard the story of Sri Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a great saint who lived in Bengal and Odisha in the 15th and 16th centuries. He was a close companion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we listened to how Sri Haridas was deeply attached to chanting the Harinam. He used to do japa of Sri Krishna's names, especially the Hare Krishna mantra, which we just recited now. He would do that relentlessly. And we listened to a couple of narratives in his life. One was how the local Muslim ruler was not happy with it, and he ordered him to be punished. He was punished in 22 different marketplaces. He was beaten, and then he was thrown into the Ganga, but he came out. Nothing happened to him. He was protected by Sri Bhagavan, and he continued to chant the holy name. So hearing that, the person who ordered his punishment, that king or governor, he transformed. He found it miraculous that a person who has been subject to this kind of punishment has survived it just by chanting the name. Then another incident we heard was how a venomous snake, which was living near his kutir, left the place and went away upon his request. And the third incident we listened to was how he was tested by Krishna through a very envious, again, Muslim governor in the place by name Ramachandra Khan, who sent to him a prostitute to try to destroy his tapasya. So we listen to how this prostitute comes to him and tries to disturb him, but he does not get disturbed. Not only does he not get disturbed, but he plays a game with her by which she transforms. And 3 successive nights, he makes her listen to him by promising her that he will fulfill her desire. But by listening to him, listening to his chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, she transforms and she becomes a saint, and she becomes a very popular saint. Haridas leaves that place and goes away. So we will continue to listen to more narratives about him today before we complete the class. But I want to now move into the 12th chapter. We listen to the first 16 shlokas of this chapter. And before we go into the first shloka to revise what we have already heard, I want to reflect for a moment on why we are listening to the Bhagavad-Gita. The Bhagavad-Gita helps us to find our purpose in life. Deeply inside, we all have this question within us that, what is my purpose in life? Why am I living? What is it that I'm meant to achieve before I complete this life? When I am, say, 80 years of age, when I have done everything I can do in this life, and I look back at my life, what is it that will give me happiness? What is it when I think this is what I have achieved in life will give me happiness? What is that thing? What is that purpose? So the reading the Gita, which is a part of the Mahabharata, and reading the Mahabharata itself, helps us to find this purpose. We want happiness. Ultimately, we want to be completely content within. We want to be happy. We want to live a life which is free from stress. Stress is something that attacks us every day. There's so much stress, there's so much confusion. So many times we are faced with a dilemma about whether to do this or to do that. We don't have clarity. We get into trouble with people. We get into trouble with our job. We get into trouble with our juniors. We have so many anxieties we want to overcome. And we want to feel contented. We want to feel peaceful. But it doesn't come so easily. The Mahabharata helps us to find that path of dharma by which we find that peace and become free from anxiety, even in a world where there is a lot of source of anxiety. Anxieties won't subside by themselves. It is we who change inside. The sources of anxiety will remain the same, but they no longer disturb us if we understand what dharma is and live in accordance with dharma. Practice the principles of dharma. So we've been studying the Bhagavad-Gita right from the first chapter, and now we are in the 12th chapter. I will very quickly revise the first 16 shlokas of the 12th chapter, and then we will go into the 17th shloka. So in this 12th chapter, Sri Bhagavan answers Arjuna's question, which was, Arjuna asked, Arjuna uvacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktas tvam paryupasate ye chapaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. So Arjuna asked this question, O Krishna, among two types of people or two types of spiritual practitioners, one type which is completely devoted to you and continuously engaged in your service, your seva, and the second type which thinks about you as something that is impersonal, something that has no form, which is something undecaying, and undecaying eternal consciousness. Among these two types of practitioners, who understands yoga better? So in response to this question, Sri Bhagavan replies, Sri Bhagavan uvacha maya veshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetas te me yukta tamamataha. Very unambiguous reply. He says that the bhakta who is devoted to me, his mind is completely absorbed in me, that person has a superior understanding of yoga. But he says, ye tvaksharama nirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam achintyancha kutasthamachalam dhruvam sanniyamyendriyagramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha. So even the other type of practitioner who is thinking of me as undecaying consciousness, which is present everywhere, which is immovable, which is eternal, everything, all those properties that you just mentioned, even that practitioner also eventually attains me. But kleshodhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhiravapyate. Because you are having a material body like this, if you take that path, that second path, then your difficulties will be much more. Such people experience much greater difficulty. Even if eventually they attain me, that is a path that I do not recommend. So he says, Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. So why did I say that the person on the first path, the path of bhakti, finds it easier? It's simply because I personally uplift that person. I personally act as that person's elevator from this material existence, which is comparable to an ocean of death, he says. So therefore, become my bhakta. So continuing from here in the 8th shloka, he says, Mayyeva mana adatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva ata urdhvam na samshayaha. This is the best state of existence for a human being, and this is the best way in which bhakti yoga is done, where one's mind is completely absorbed in Sri Bhagavan all the time, and one goes about doing all one's activities, keeping Sri Bhagavan in one's mind. One is very conscious of his presence, and one completely lives in it. He says, Nivasishyasi mayeva. So practically speaking, one is living in Bhagavan all the time. But if you are not able to do this, then atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mamibchaptum dhananjaya. I understand that it's not possible for everyone to think about me all the time, and therefore engage in abhyasa yoga. Commit yourself to daily doing repetitive practice of thinking about me. For example, through chanting my name, doing japa. Again and again, try to repetitively fix your mind on me. And by doing that, eventually you will come to me. But if even this is not possible for you, abhyasepya samarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madarthamapi karmani kurvan siddhimavapsyasi. If you are not able to do that repetitive practice of abhyasa yoga, then devote yourself to doing my activities. Okay, so in the last class, I gave example of activities related to Sri Bhagavan, like for example, visiting his temple, doing parikrama, or doing some upavas, etc., etc. Various activities which are connected to Bhagavan, which help us to think of Bhagavan. If we cannot sit down and do japa, then at least do this. Okay. So by doing that, you will then attain perfection, he says in Bhakti. So he has given us 3 different levels or 3 different modes in which we can practice Bhakti. But even if this is not possible, Athaitadyapya shaktosi kartum madyogamashritah sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuruyatatmavan. So then he comes to Karma Yoga. He says that Bhakti Yoga requires some basic Shraddha to begin, but not everybody gets that Shraddha. And therefore, do Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga also is very elevating. Karma Yoga may be considered as inferior to Bhakti Yoga, but just because it's inferior to Bhakti Yoga doesn't mean that it is despicable. It is also a very exalted thing. It's a very praiseworthy thing. And if somebody can do Karma Yoga sincerely, then they will eventually attain me. And this is what he says in the 12th shloka. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat jnanat dhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phalatyagaha tyagat shantiranantaram. So by doing karma phalatyaga, which is the core of Karma Yoga, you will get eventually, you will be on the path to attaining me, and eventually you can attain me. So in this way, Sri Bhagavan touches upon Karma Yoga. Even though this 12th chapter is primarily devoted to Bhakti Yoga, he also gives Karma Yoga as an option, a fallback option for those who are not able to naturally come to Bhakti Yoga. So it's perfectly all right. And then he goes back to Bhakti Yoga. He talks about who are those people who are very dear to him, the bhaktas who are very dear to him. What kind of qualities does he expect to see in those very pure-hearted bhaktas? So in the last session, we saw 21 of these qualities. In all, Sri Bhagavan lists 37 different qualities, and this is covered in 8 shlokas. In the last session, we did 4 shlokas in which 21 qualities are covered. So I will quickly revise that list of 21 qualities. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchayah mayyarpitamano buddhiryo madbhaktas same priyaha. So the very first quality that he lists, Adveshta sarva bhutanam, one who does not have any hatred or jealousy, envy of other living beings. One who does not feel miserable when they are happy or happy when they are miserable. Instead, one has a friendly, maitraha, karunaha, one has a friendly disposition, a disposition of kindness towards all living beings. Nirmamaha, one who is not possessive. Nirahankaraha, one who is devoid of a false sense of ego. One who knows that he is a servant of Bhagavan. One who knows that he is my servant. He has that identity. Okay, that means he is free from ahankara. Samadukka sukhaha, one who is equal, one who is equanimous in both situations which can be considered as situations of misery and in other situations which can be considered as situations of happiness. For example, if one wins a prize, then that's normally considered as a situation of happiness. Or if one loses some money in some endeavor, then that would normally be considered as a situation of misery. But samadukka sukha means one who is equanimous in both, is able to keep his balanced mind in both. Shami, one who is very tolerant, very tolerant to all kinds of difficulties, endures, is endurance enabled. Okay. Santushtaha satatam, one who is always content, very content within. Yogi, means one who is sincerely engaged in the practices of Bhakti Yoga. Yatatma is a person whose mind and senses are controlled. Dhrida nishchayaha, one whose determination is very steady, one whose commitment, nishchaya, or shraddha, commitment, is very steady, very strong, unshakable. It's unshakable. Okay. Mayyarpita mano buddhihi, one whose mind and intelligence, buddhi and mana, are mayyarpita, means are offered to me. Okay. So, Mayarpita Mano Buddhihi Yo Mad Bhaktas Same Priyaha. So, in these two shlokas, he lists 12 qualities. Then, Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chayaha, harsha marsha bhayodvegair mukto yassacha me priyaha. Yasman na udvijate loko. One because of whom the world does not get disturbed. One who is not a cause of disturbance or suffering or anxiety to others in this world. And lokan no udvijate chayaha. One who doesn't get disturbed by others, one who conducts himself in a manner that he does not disturb anybody else, nor does he gets disturbed by anybody else. He conducts himself in that way. Even if others can be a cause of disturbance, he knows how to navigate them. He knows how to avoid such situations whereby he will get into a fight with someone. Even if there is a possibility of him getting into a fight, he will quickly avoid it. He will come out of it and find his way out of it. Okay, so he will not get disturbed by others, and others will not get disturbed by him. Harsha, Marsha, Bhayodvegaihi. Four things. Harsha means situations of being happy when there is happiness for oneself. Amarsha means misery upon seeing somebody else happy. Harsha means happiness when one achieves something, when there is a good situation for oneself, feeling happiness. Amarsha means when there is a good situation for somebody else, feeling unhappiness, feeling anger. How can that fellow be successful? Who gave him the the opportunity to do this? Who allowed him to do that? How did he succeed? Feeling angry that somebody else succeeded, somebody else became happy. Okay. Harsha, Marsha, Bhayaha. Bhayaha means fear or anxiety that my position will get taken away. Somebody else will take away my course. Somebody will take away my land. Like that. Bhaya, fear. Udvegaha. Udvegaha means disturbance. Different kinds of disturbance. Udvegaha or excitement. Excitement for sensual enjoyment. Okay, feeling sensually excited to see an opportunity for sensual excitement. When I say sensual excitement, I don't mean only sexual excitement. I mean any kind of sensual excitement. Like somebody says, there is a big feast here. So getting excited to know that there is a big feast coming up. Okay, so a person who is free from that, harsha, marsha, bhayo, tvegaihi muktaha, means one who is free from all these things. Yes, such a me priyaha, such a person, he is very dear to me, Sri Bhagavan says. Anapekshas shuchir daksha, udasino gathavyatah, sarvarambha parityagi yo mad bhaktas same priyaha. So anapekshaha, one who has no eagerness or you can say hankering, apeksha, expectation for material enjoyment from other people, that person should respect me. Okay, this is one of the things that is a cause of stress for many people in this world. One of the causes of stress is I'm not getting the respect that is due to me. Okay, nobody will say that outside, but in the mind it's going on that my students are not respecting me enough. My colleagues are not respecting me enough. My peers are not respecting me enough. My wife is not respecting me. My husband doesn't respect me. My son doesn't respect me. This feeling that I'm not being honored enough, I'm not being respected, is a major driver of anxiety and makes us do foolish things. Because of this, we go and put up our things on social media. We go and try to project ourselves in public in some particular manner. We try to show ourselves off in some way by which people will be attracted to us and they will give us some recognition, honor. Okay. So anapeksha is a person who is free from this. This kind of anxiety or stress does not exist in that person's mind. In his mind, the people who are worthy of respect are the other people. Okay, he is eager to respect others. He recognizes the worth in other people. He says that, oh, my colleague is so intelligent. My you can say guru, my teacher, he knows so much. I don't know anything compared to him. My students, they know so much. My friends, they know so much. They are so good. They are so talented. Okay, he sees that potency and he connects everything to God. Because of this, because of that connection with God, it's not out of some false superficial thinking. It's not because someone told you that you should think like that. No, because he genuinely sees that God exists in them, and by God's blessings, they are able to do like this. They are able to perform in this manner. So, seeing that out of respect for God, out of recognition of God's supremacy, Krishna's supremacy, he is able to genuinely respect others and not expect respect for himself. Anapekshaha, shuchihi. Shuchihi means clean, internally, externally clean. Dakshaha, he's an expert in whatever he does. He's focused on his work and he's an expert in that. Udasinaha means detached, detached from any particular individual, no bias towards anybody. Gatha vyataha, free from any kind of anxiety. Sarvarambha parityagi, taking up initiatives which are a disturbance to one's focus. Okay? In this world, we want to be successful. Even those who don't want to practice yoga or bhakti or karma, whatever, they are not interested in spirituality, but even then they want success, right? So many people want success. Now, what is the key principle of success? One of the key principles of success is to focus on one goal and just pursue that goal without distraction. And that is what is meant by Sarvarambha Parityagi, giving up everything. Arambha Parityaga. Arambha here means initiatives which are disturbance to one's focus. Whatever is one's focus, just focus on that. And if that is important in material success, it's all the more important in spiritual success. In spiritual success, there is nothing other than focus which will work. So if somebody is devoted to bhakti, then anything that is a disturbance to bhakti, they must just avoid at any cost. Right? So Sarvarambha Parityagi Yomad Bhaktas Me Priyaha. Such a bhakta is very dear to me. So in this manner, we saw in the last session 21 different qualities which make a person, which make a bhakta very dear to Sri Bhagavan. Sri Bhagavan is attracted to such a person. And now we will see in the remaining 4 shlokas 21. 37 minus 21 is 16. 16 more qualities. So Sri Bhagavan says, Yo na hrishyati na dveshti, na shochati na kankshati, shubha shubha parityagi bhaktiman yassa me priyaha. So he says, Yo na hrishyati na dveshti. Again, hrishyati means feels happy. Dveshti means feels angry or feels envious. Right? Dveshti. Hrishyati means one who celebrates when something good happens to one. Okay, like I just said, somebody gets a prize or someone gets respected by someone, honored in some assembly. Okay, somebody comes and says that, oh, you are such a great person in front of other people. Nothing makes you more happy than that, right? When you are getting appreciation in front of other people. So you feel so good. You feel so good. A big smile comes on your face. You raise your hands. You pose for a selfie because you want that moment to last very long. Okay, so yona hrishyati, one who does not seek that kind of pleasure. Okay, na dveshti, the opposite of this. Okay, when some failure happens, then the boss or some superior or somebody else, maybe the customer, calls you and fires you. Okay, why did this happen? You are not responsible. You are irresponsible. You don't know how to do your thing properly. Okay, somebody comes and shouts at you. Somebody points your blame, and sometimes somebody blames you even when you have not done something wrong. Okay, this is very common, especially in an intellectual environment like I am situated in, and you are also working towards. In intellectual environments, people blame you because they are all intellectuals, so they find it easy to find fault, and they take pleasure in finding fault with you even when you are not at fault. They will criticize you through emails or messages or in public meetings. So at that time, if somebody is spiritually mature, then they will not become angry. No dveshti. They will not feel that envy towards those people. Okay, they will just see that, okay, these people, they are ignorant. Out of ignorance, out of their own ignorance, which is because of their tamoguna, they are becoming angry with me. Okay, maybe I made a mistake, or maybe I didn't make a mistake, whichever way. Why should they be angry? There is no need to be angry. If I have done something wrong, then it can be corrected. But they are not able to see that, and that is why they are getting angry. Okay? That's because of the influence of their own greed, their own, tamoguna, their ignorance. That is why they are losing their temper, and they are insulting me. So thinking like this, being able to see this through the lens of the Shastra, this person who is spiritually mature, a bhakta, does not become angry. Na dveshti. Okay. So on the one hand, na hrishyati, he doesn't celebrate because he sees that these things will keep happening. Good things will come, bad things also will come. And if I have succeeded in doing something, there are larger factors in this. Okay. God has just put me in this position now where I have succeeded. And when he is put in an embarrassing situation, na dveshti, he doesn't get angry with them because he sees there also there is a hand of God in it. There is the hand of larger forces in this. Yo na hrishyati na dveshti, na shochati na kankshati. So he does not lament. Shochati means lament. Lament for something that is lost. Okay, shocha. Shocha means lamentation. Na kankshati, hanker for something. Kankshanam, akanksha or kankshati means one who hankers. Akanksha means hankering. Hankering for something. What do we hanker for? We hanker for something which we don't have. Okay, for example, money or a prize or a position. We don't have it right now, so we want it very badly. We hanker for it. So that hankering is a source of disturbance in our mind. It's a source of stress. We are not content. Hankering, akanksha, is a symptom of a person who is not content, who doesn't have that inner santushti. Absence of santushti is akanksha. So a bhakta, a spiritually mature person, na shochati na kankshati. He neither laments nor hankers. Okay, so both are connected because a person who is filled with hankering will also experience lamentation when something that he has is lost. Okay, suppose he has something and that gets stolen away, that gets taken away. Okay, for example, he has a position in some organization, and for want of some reason, let's say a new boss comes and he changes your power. Okay, for example, bureaucrats in our country, a good example is how bureaucrats are continuously shuffled around. Okay, that's their job. That's the nature of the job when governments change. Suppose one government goes out of power and the next government comes into power because of the election. Then that new chief minister will just say that, okay, remove all these guys and put these people who are my chelas. Okay, that's how it works, right? That's how it works all over the world. It's not only in India. And what happens? That power that fellow was enjoying, that bureaucrat was enjoying as a secretary of some forests or mines or some some income tax, whatever, that suddenly is gone. Now he is put in some very inferior position in the same state. Now he will no longer get the attention and the respect, and the all the people who were worshipping him are now going to worship somebody else. Okay. So what is there at one moment is lost, and that is the nature of this world. Okay, this example is relevant not only for bureaucrats, it's relevant for all of us. What we have at some point of time will be taken away at some other point of time. If not during our lifetime, at the point of death, for sure. At the point of death, we have to give up whatever we have. Everybody has to do it. However powerful they are, they cannot avoid that position, right? So a person who is spiritually mature already knows that. And therefore, he will not lament. He has overcome that distress, that distressful situation. If that position is gone from my hand, if that property is gone, maybe for a moment he will feel a shock, or he will feel a jhatka. Right? In Hindi we say jhatka. एक moment के लिए झटका लगेगा. उसके बाद he knows, okay, this had to happen, it will happen, and it has happened. I am perfectly fine. Nothing inside me has been taken away. What is outside has been taken away. What is inside me is always safe. Because of his inner focus, that inner realization will ensure that he will neither lament nor will he develop any hankering. Na shochati na kankshati. Shubha shubha parityagi. Shubha ashubha. Shubha means, the word shubha and ashubha basically mean that which is, you can say, auspicious. Shubha means auspicious, that which we desire to have. And ashubha means inauspicious, or something that we don't desire to have, something that we desire to avoid, something that we want to avoid. Okay. And more specifically, in the context of dharma, shubha and ashubha refer to punya and papa. Right? Because those who practice dharma, samanya dharma, they think of punya as something that they want to acquire. Okay. Dharma is done for the purpose of punya, samanya dharma. Normally, dharma is done because people want to acquire punya. And what is punya? Punya is that merit or that credit which gives us happiness in the future. Okay, punya is that credit or those seeds of happiness which we are accumulating today. So each time we acquire punya, we are actually sowing those seeds of happiness which will fructify at some future point of time. And when they fructify, we may not remember what punya we have done, but we will experience that happiness. So dharma is actually the source of punya. So those who do dharma, samanya dharma, they think about acquiring punya and ashubha, avoiding papa. All the practices of dharma are designed in a way that papa is avoided and punya is acquired. Okay, now here it says shubha, shubha parityagi, both shubha and ashubha, both are to be given. Okay, so how does that make sense? Because just now we said that dharma is done for acquiring punya and rejecting papa. So we understand that parityaga should be done of papa only, but not of punya. Here, parityaga is done because we are talking about yoga. Bhagavad-gita is not about samanya dharma, it's about parodharma. Parodharma involves sacrificing both punya and papa for an even higher happiness. The happiness obtained by yoga is far superior to the happiness obtained by punya. After all, punya will take us where? Punya takes us to some place like Swargaloka, or maybe Tapoloka, or maybe Brahmaloka eventually. But even Brahmaloka, the highest state of existence in this material universe, is inside the material existence. Even Brahmaloka is within material existence, and punya can take you up to Brahmaloka, but not beyond that. But yoga takes us beyond this material existence, even beyond Brahmaloka. Yoga takes us to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is a place where we eternally exist, eternal existence of happiness, where we engage in activities that are eternally happiness producing. Okay, so that is why in the context of parodharma, or in the context of bhakti, bhakti is parodharma. Even karma yoga is a path of parodharma. It takes us beyond this material existence. Its ultimate goal is beyond material existence. So regardless of which form of yoga we do, yoga is meant for eternal mukti or liberation. And even beyond mukti is bhakti, which we are talking about now. Okay, so one who is a shubha shubha parityagi, bhaktiman yassa me priyaha, Shri Bhagavan says. So Shri Bhagavan wants us to realize that even give up the thought of punya and think about doing bhakti, which will bring you to me, to my existence. So now we come to the last shloka of the Gita, of the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Sorry, the third last shloka now. Samashatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoh शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समसंग विवर्जितः तुल्य निन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी संतुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेत स्थिरमतिः भक्तिमान मे प्रियो नरः. So here Shri Bhagavan says samah shatrau cha mitre cha. So normally we see that we have a tendency to like the people who we consider our friends. And who are our friends? Our friends are people who talk good about us, who give us gifts, who speak praiseworthy words about us, etc. And who are our enemies? Our enemies are people who don't speak good about us, who don't like us, who look away from us. Okay. So when we deal with them in real life, how do we deal with them? We like to favor our friends and we like to disfavor our enemies. Those who we think are our enemies, we try to harm them. Suppose we have the power, then we will do something which will put the enemy at a disadvantage, or the person we think is our enemy at a disadvantage. Like Duryodhana did to Yudhishthira, right? He thought that Yudhishthira and the other 4 brothers of Yudhishthira, Pandavas, they are his enemies. And continuously he tried to put them to harm, even though everyone else knew that they are not doing any harm to these Kauravas. They allowed the Kauravas to live happily. But Duryodhana was not happy, right? So he saw them as enemies and he disfavored them. And how did he see Karna? He saw Karna as his friend. So he promoted him. He gave him a lot of power. He gave him position. and he allowed him to do what he wanted to do, what Karna wanted to do, right? But actually, who was Duryodhana's real well-wisher? In many situations, we see the Pandavas doing help to Duryodhana, and Karna, people like Karna actually harming him. People not like Karna not doing any good to him. People like Karna gave him bad advice, because of which he eventually suffered, right? Yudhishthira gave Duryodhana good advice. So, samaha shatrau cha mitre cha, the bhakta does not see anybody as friend or enemy, or in other words, he sees everybody through the lens of friendship. Karunaha, maitraha, we heard in the beginning, right? So, in the view of bhakti is to see everybody as a friend. The whole world is my friend. It is just that different times, different people behave in different ways. The person who does not like me, maybe he likes me, but does not like me because I have done something to him, or some suffering has come to him because of me. That is why he doesn't like me. And his ignorance. He doesn't have the knowledge by which he can see this world in a correct manner. So he develops a dislike towards me. And there is somebody else who thinks that I am his friend, and he is treating me well. He is giving me a gift because he thinks I have done him a favor. Okay. The bhakta sees everybody as his friend. And seeing everybody like that, he becomes equanimous. He will never do anything which will put somebody at a disadvantage deliberately, or do something which puts somebody at an advantage deliberately. Instead, he does something that is the correct thing to do. In all situations, do what the correct thing to do is. What is good for society as a whole, or what is good for your organization as a whole, right? That is called samaha shatraucha mitrecha. Tatha mana apamanayoho. Similarly, in respect, mana, apamana. Mana means respect, apamana also. Apamana means disrespect. So in both mana and apamana, maintain a balanced attitude. Shitoshna sukha dukkeshu samaha means in heat and cold. Okay, this is literal heat and cold, not symbolically heat and cold, because symbolic heat and cold already has been mentioned. In heat and cold. So heat and cold basically here can also be understood as in the summer, we sometimes experience a lot of suffering because it's extremely hot, right? So we look forward to a colder season. So it looks like the colder season is better than the hot season. But when the cold comes, it's so miserable that we have to cover ourselves with different clothes. We are shivering. We can't hold the pen because the hand has become numb. So many problems. The fingers, the lips are cracking. We can't speak clearly. So much misery comes because of the winter. Sometimes the geyser is not working because electricity is not there. And so we have to take bath in cold water. So much misery comes in the winter also. So when the winter comes, we look forward to the summer. When the summer comes, we look forward to the winter. But the person who is spiritually mature knows both. And so he says, okay, I have to somehow suffer and experience pleasure. I will tolerate it. When summer comes, I will tolerate the heat. When winter comes, I will tolerate the cold. So he develops that shama or kshami. Earlier we heard the word shami. Shami means shama asya asti iti shami. So he develops the shama by which he is able to tolerate both heat and cold, or more generally, uncomfortable and comfortable situations equally. Shitoshna sakadakeshu samasanga vivarjitaha. Sangha vivarjitaha means giving up the company of people who are a disturbance. Giving up the company of wicked people, people who are malicious, people who are loose character, people who are unethical, people who just disturb our mind. Instead, seek the company of people who are genuine, who are sincere, who are hardworking. And even if they don't respect us, it's okay. But their company will elevate us. They may not give us much bhav. They may not think that we are great people. They may not praise us. They may be strict with us. But because they are good in character, they will elevate us. Their company will inspire us towards doing something good. So Sangha Vivarjitaha means one who gives up the company of people who are lower character, people who are low in their character. Tulya Ninda Stutir, Mauni, Tulya Ninda Stutihi. Tulya Ninda Stutihi means one who is equanimous in both Ninda. Ninda means scolding or revile, abuse, and Stuti, praise. Okay, just now we have talked about this. This quality is expressed as Tulya ninda stutihi, one who is equanimous in both praise and condemnation. Mauni, one who knows how to keep silent, does not speak unnecessarily, speaks only when required, does not send arbitrary email messages or WhatsApp messages, because that is the order of the day. You see people sending WhatsApp messages left, right, and center because they want to be, they want to attract attention. They want to say that I have a voice. People sending emails expressing opinion about everything in this world, right? So, no, Mauni means you speak when required and what is required. Speak what is required when it is required. Otherwise, keep silent. Santushtaha, santushto yena kenachit. Content with whatever is available. Okay. So sometimes in your house, if you are, let's say, for example, your mother is cooking for you, you eat what your mother makes. No complaints. So you didn't get what you wanted to eat. Your mother made something which you normally don't like. Accept it. Your wife makes something that you don't like or you think it's just a very ordinary thing. Accept it. Santushtaha. Santushto yena kena chit. Be content with what you get. Okay. You go join a job, you get a salary, you're not content with it. You want more. So you go back and negotiate. The boss says, no, you're not, you work for 3 months, then I'll see. If your performance is good enough, I'll give you a raise. So you work hard for 3 months and you get a raise, but the raise is not good enough. You thought you will get 3 times that amount, but he has given you only so much. Not happy again. So you got a raise, the boss gave you something, you are not content. So santushto yena kenachit is a person who says that, okay, I have to do my work. This job is giving me an opportunity for some work. I will do that work. I'll do my work as sincerely I can because my goal is not to merely accumulate a lot of wealth. I need a salary to maintain myself, to live in a clean house, to live in a place that is free from disturbance and maintain my family. But I don't need to accumulate huge amount of wealth. I need to do a job because my mind should be fixed. Doing a job sincerely is my way to elevate. So thinking like this, the person says, okay, yaar, kuch mil raha hai, I'll work. I'll work. I won't go and keep on negotiating with my boss unnecessarily. So this attitude is called santushto yena kenachit. Okay, I just gave an example. You can apply it in many other situations. Aniketaha. Aniketaha is a person. Niketanam. Niketanam means a place of residence. Aniketaha is a person who is not attached to any particular place of residence, a particular house or a particular land or a particular country or something. He is willing to move if required to any place. Or when he has to move because of the virtue of his job or because of his children's education or whatever, he will then very happily move along with the job. Stiramatihi, one whose intelligence is steady. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. So then Sri Bhagavan concludes the 12th chapter of the Gita like this. He says, Yetu dharmyamritamidam yathoktam paryupasate Shraddhadhana matparama bhaktas tiva me priyaha. So he sums up the last 7 shlokas with the 8th shloka like this. He says, Yetu dharmyamritamidam. Dharmyamritamidam yathoktam paryupasate. So I have listed this, the last 3 also, the last shloka also as having 3 different qualities. Dharmyamritamidam yathoktam paryupasate. He says that whatever he has spoken so far is dharmyamritam. Dharmyamritam means dharmam. Dharmaha. Dharmaha is, we know what dharma is. Dharma is that which sustains us. The right thing to do, righteousness, the right thing to do, the best thing to do, the correct way to live. And that which has the property of dharma is dharmyam. Dharmyam means that which has anything that has the property of dharma, the nature of dharma is dharmya. So he says that what he has just spoken is dharmyamritam, dharmyasya amritam, the nectar of dharmya, what can be called as dharmya, the nectar of that, the best part of that. Okay, that is bhakti. He's been speaking about the qualities of his bhaktas. So he says this bhakti, dharmyamritam, yathoktam paryupasate. If somebody follows this exactly like the way I have described it, yathoktam. Yathoktam means the way it has been described. Yatha uktam, as it has been described. Paryupasate. comprehensively follows it or comprehensively abides by it. Shraddha dhanaha. With Shraddha, not just mechanically, not just because someone told them to do it, but because they themselves realize from within that it is good for them. Shraddha. That is why it is said in the beginning of Bhakti, Rupa Goswami says, Adau Shraddha. Bhakti begins with Shraddha. In fact, everything begins with Shraddha. Anything that we do in life should be done with Shraddha. It's meant to begin with Shraddha. Okay, many people actually, unfortunately, work without Shraddha. They work because they have to work, right? Because if they don't work, they have to starve or they have to face insult from other people. They have to face indignity. So they work. They don't work because they believe that work is good for them, that work will elevate them, right? They don't believe in the purpose of that work. So that is work without Shraddha. But work with Shraddha, that is Karma Yoga. That's where actually not even Karma Yoga, even Dharma, Samanya Dharma is done with Shraddha. Shraddha in the fruits of that Dharma. And Karma Yoga is done without attachment to the fruits of Dharma, but with attachment to the higher goal of realizing Bhagavan. So Shraddha is very important. So Shraddha Dhanaha. Bhakti requires Bhakti Shraddha. Shraddha required for Bhakti is required. Right? Shraddha Dhana. Mat Paramaha. Mat Paramaha means one who is completely devoted to me. Or one who thinks that I am the supreme goal. There is nothing superior to me. Beyond achieving me, there is nothing else to achieve. That is the purpose of life. Okay, that is Mat Paramaha. Shraddha Dhana Mat Parama. Bhaktas tiva me priya. Such a bhakta or such kind of bhaktas. This is in plural actually. So he says bhaktaha. All these bhaktas who have these 37 qualities that I have listed. Ativa me priyaha. They are extremely dear to me. Ativa means extremely. Extremely dear to me. Such bhaktas are extremely dear to me. Okay, so with this we complete the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is about bhakti. And we will conclude today's session by again revisiting the life of Sri Haridas Thakur. What happened after that? What happened after that incident in which he reformed that life of the prostitute? Haridas went away from there and continued to do Harinam wherever he went. And as the story goes, he became an associate of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was born when Haridas Thakur was a young man. So that was in the year 1486. Mahaprabhu's appearance was in the year 1486 AD. And that was a time when the Nawab of Bengal was ruling the state of Bengal, which was actually undivided Bengal. Today's Bengal is West Bengal, right, in India. And Bangladesh, part of it has become Bangladesh after that independence and all the nonsense that happened at that time. But Bangladesh was part of this Bengal in which Mahaprabhu was born. So that portion also has a huge amount of, or had at that point of time, a huge number of people practicing this path of bhakti that he propagated. So Haridas was born actually in Jashore, which is now in Bangladesh. And so he became a companion of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu and he became very intimately close to each other. And there is one incident in which Mahaprabhu, he used to conduct these kirtans, great sankirtans in the house of Srivas. There was a bhakta by name Srivas Pandit, and in his house, Mahaprabhu used to conduct long sankirtans at very, very long times. He would go on conducting sankirtan, and everybody would very blissfully participate in that. It produced so much joy. And once when Haridas Thakur was present and participating in that sankirtan, Mahaprabhu went to him and he said, you are one of my greatest bhaktas. He says that I'm not able to find someone like you, with someone like your qualities. He says, when those Yavanas, those Muslims, were whipping you in the marketplaces, were beating you, I was so pained that those lashes actually made marks on my back. You see, he says, I was watching it from my abode and I was so pained by it that those lashes left marks on my back. Okay, because I could not tolerate the pain that it was causing to you. And so Mahaprabhu removes his garment. He removes his garment and he shows it to all those who are present. He shows to Haridas that, look, all those lashes are on my back. So seeing that, Haridas is so moved that he goes into ecstasy, goes into that devotional ecstasy. He is not able to believe that Sri Bhagavan himself, out of kindness, has taken that pain that he had to go through. So then Mahaprabhu tells him that I would have deployed my Sudarshan Chakra. Normally I do that when somebody insults my bhakta, but you were praying to me at that time that you want me to forgive them. And because you were praying like that, I became ineffective. I could not do anything. My Sudarshan Chakra also became ineffective. Otherwise, I would have killed those people at that time itself. So hearing this, Haridas Thakur, he begins experiencing that pure prema in his heart. He says, this is Bhagavan's love, pure love. So in this manner, Mahaprabhu and Bhagavan continued to be very closely associated. And when Mahaprabhu eventually went to Puri at the age of 24, until the age of 24, that is from 1486 to 1510, Mahaprabhu remained in Bengal, largely in Bengal, and maybe visiting nearby areas. But after that point, he went out of Bengal and he started touring the country. So in those years, after going out of Bengal, he goes to Vrindavan. He first goes to Puri, and then from Puri he goes to Vrindavan, and then he comes back from Vrindavan to Puri, and then from Puri he goes to the south. He goes to South India for 6 years. And after 6 years, he comes back. He tours the whole of India. He takes a particular route which takes him via, Andhra Pradesh, because immediately south of Odisha is Andhra Pradesh. And from Andhra, he goes into Tamil Nadu. And from Tamil Nadu, he goes to Karnataka. He comes upwards. He goes into Kerala, sorry. He goes all the way till Kanyakumari. And then from Kanyakumari, he goes into Kerala. And he walks along Kerala and comes upwards, northwards. And he goes into Karnataka. He goes to Udupi. He's walking along the coast. He goes to different places in Karnataka like Sringeri and goes northwards, goes through some parts of Maharashtra. He goes to Pandharpur in Maharashtra and then goes further north, and eventually he reaches back to Puri. He travels to various places and comes back to Puri. And this takes 6 years of his life. So from 1510 to 1516 or so, he's doing all this. And then eventually, the remaining 18 years of his life, he spends in Puri. The last 18 years of his life, he spent in Puri. And eventually he left this world at the age of 48 in Puri. His last days were in Puri. So Haridas also accompanies him. He doesn't go to South India, to Vrindavan, etc., but he stays in Puri. The moment Mahaprabhu leaves Bengal and goes to Puri, Haridas Thakur also goes with him, and then he stays in Puri the remaining part of his life. And he leaves this world before Mahaprabhu leaves, and the time when he leaves is when they are doing kirtan. When he knows that his end is coming close, he goes and sits in front of Mahaprabhu, who is engaged in kirtan, and he fixes his mind completely on him. And looking at him, he leaves his body. And then Mahaprabhu knows that, he can see that he has left his body, he has left this world. So he picks up the body and he goes from there to the sea, to the ocean, which is in Puri. And he does his samadhi. He dips him, he gives him a bath in the ocean in his hands, holding him in his own hands, and he then gives him samadhi. So Haridas Thakur's samadhi now is very close to the beach in Puri, near Swargadwar in Puri. So if you go to Puri next time, then you can visit the samadhi of Haridas Thakur as well. And now you will see that there are bhaktas, Krishna bhaktas there, sitting there and doing kirtan all the time. So that's the place where Mahaprabhu himself personally gave samadhi to Sri Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur's life is a life of inspiration, and it gives us a sense of direction in life. And even if we are not able to do the level of bhakti that he did, we can keep him as a kind of benchmark for ourselves, for all the wonderful qualities that he had. The kind of qualities that we have been discussing in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gita were all present in this great personality. So we can use him as a reference point and see how we can improve, in what dimensions. It's not going to be an overnight transformation, but it's a journey that we can start when we hear this and take ourselves forward. So as I said in the beginning of today's class, the purpose of studying the Gita is to develop a strong sense of purpose in life so we can live a life of contentment, free from anxiety and stress, which is anyway present in this world, which we cannot resolve. This world will never be free from the sources of anxiety. That's the nature of this world the Bhagavad-Gita describes. It is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. But when we follow dharma, especially paro dharma, then we can learn how to be free from anxiety and live a life of contentment in this world. So with these words, I will stop for today and I invite your questions and comments. Thank you for joining us.
Pranam sir, am I audible?
Yeah, Pranam Sarthak, I can hear you. Please.
Yes. Sir, so my question is, we discussed today that a bhakta should not have any hankering or should not lament and should not get very happy. So, sir, I wanted to ask, is this only in the material realm or it also applies to the spiritual realm? As in, a spiritually mature person will not even think about that, okay, why am I not progressing fast enough? He'll only do what the practices are being assigned to him by the guru and sincerely following it and leaving everything to श्री भगवान की भक्ति भी जब भी आएगी वो भी भगवान की इच्छा से ही आएगी मुझे उसमें परेशान होने की आवश्यकता नहीं so so where do we draw the line for hankering and concern?
In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is a very good question actually. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami speaks about the greed for bhakti, lalach. He says lobh or greed for getting bhakti is one of the essential drivers of bhakti. Because we don't have that thing called prema normally in us. By virtue of being in this samsara for time immemorial, the prema, which is the essence of bhakti, is lacking in us. And only when we hanker for it, we ask for it, we seek it, only when we consciously seek it, do we become eligible to acquire it. It is given to us by a bhakta, like our guru, or whichever bhakta whose kripa falls on us. Bhagavan sanctions it. Bhagavan allows that prema to come to us. So we have to have that hankering for bhakti, that lalach. That hankering is not what is referred to here as absence of greed. The hankering that's referred to here is the greed for material pleasure, sensual pleasures, or subtle sensual pleasures like power, fame, etc. Not the greed for bhakti, or for that matter, even in karma yoga, where you may not be hankering for prema, you are at least hankering for becoming pure. Your heart, you want your heart to become pure so you can experience the jnana within, right? Karma yogis hanker for jnana. So even that hankering is not the same as this. It is positive. It is something that we should have. That
So, sir, the hankering for sattva, sorry, sir.
Yes, yes.
So the hankering for sattva, the hankering for jnana, apart from bhakti, this is also okay.
That is also okay. Hankering for any form of dharma is very much okay. Is not what is rejected here.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I had one more question, but that was to you and especially to also Jayashree ma'am. But that was on a more generic sense. So we are reading Srimad Gita and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and this is a part of Mahabharata. We call Mahabharata and Ramayana as Itihas, but we also have a different set of literature which we call as Puranas.
Yes.
So what is the difference between Itihas and Puranas?
Okay, very good question again. Both are part of the most important Shastra that we ought to study. And today the government of India also recognizes them as part of the Indian knowledge system, or IKS. So Mahabharata and Ramayana are called the Itihas. Itihas in Sanskrit means iti ha asa. It was thus. The translation of iti ha asa is it was thus. okay, which means they are recorded history. Just like today, historians write books of history, or they write papers on history, they report the historical findings. In the same manner, two historians named Valmiki and Vedavyasa, they wrote these two books of history. Valmiki recorded the Ramayana, whatever happened at that point of time as Ramayana, and similarly, at another point of time, Vedavyasa wrote down Mahabharata. So if you read the way in which Ramayana and Mahabharata are written, the style of writing there differs significantly, or you can say distinctly. I wouldn't say significant, I'll say distinctly from the style of writing in the Puranas. The style of writing in these two texts is very historical, means anecdotal. This happened. Incident 1 happened, then incident 2 happened, then incident 3 happened, incident 4 happened. Incident after incident after incident is narrated in sequence. So it's just like you can see that it's written with the intention of reporting history. But if you see the Puranas, how they are written, there also the reference is made to historical and maybe some fictitious stories also. Historical narratives are given, and some places fictitious narratives are also given. The purpose of the Puranas, Puranam means what? Vedan Purayati iti Puranam. The Veda is the original source of knowledge. Everything, including bhakti, is there in the Veda. The Veda is the original source of knowledge according to our Samskriti. Now, the Veda is not easy for us to read, especially today in the Kali Yuga. Right? Earlier times, there were people with very good intellectual ability, very good intellectual power, that they could just hear the Veda and they would absorb the meaning. Right? The Guru would recite the Veda, make them recite the Veda multiple times, and the meaning also would be absorbed by them. They would understand what the Veda is saying. But today, in the Kali Yuga, even the very simplest of things is difficult for us to understand, what to speak of the Veda. And therefore, the Puranas were written. The Puranas, Purayati iti Veda. Not that the Vedas are incomplete. Purayati means makes complete. What it means is that our understanding becomes complete. The Vedas are complete by themselves, but our understanding, if we try to read the Veda, remains incomplete because it's a lack of our ability. But with the Puranas, the meanings of the Vedas are very nicely explained. Okay, for example, I'll give you a simple illustration with the Bhagavatam. The Vedanta Sutra is written by Sri Vedavyasa as a set of, what are called as sutras, which are short statements like phrases or aphorisms, which represent the message of Vedanta. Now, we can't understand them by themselves, but the Bhagavata Purana was written by Vedavyasa as a commentary on the Brahma Sutras. So our understanding by reading the Bhagavatam, systematically and comprehensively understanding it, we can understand the meaning of the Veda, particularly Vedanta. Bhagavatam, particularly Vedanta. The other Puranas like Vishnu Purana, Skanda Purana, they don't go so much, they also go into Vedanta, but they also talk a lot about Samanya Dharma. Bhagavatam is focused heavily on Parodharma. The other Puranas talk about both Parodharma and Samanya Dharma, but a lot of Samanya Dharma is present in them. So whatever it is, they help us to understand the Veda thoroughly. That is why they're called Puranas. So their style of writing is different. And they present a lot of principles, a lot of, tattvas, theories about dharma in different ways, to different stories and historical incidents and so on. Have I answered your question, Sarthak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Udit, you raised your hand.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I have a question that's a little out of context. Uh, so the question is that let's say that a person is doing bhakti yoga or karma yoga, is trying to follow it, and is able to, to a certain extent, he's able to do it, and maybe is able to reach Swarglok or Vaikunt or any place in between. He goes into some place where he's going to be there eternally. Let's say this person was also married and they say saat janmo ka sath. So what happens to the spouse? I mean, let's say the spouse is doing, and what happens to the person? That's basically my question.
Nice. So what happens if the one of the partners gets mukti at the end of a life and the other partner has not yet obtained mukti? Now it is said that the influence of one person's yoga influences several generations of people connected to that person. So if that person obtains mukti, then their ancestors, that person's ancestors, and maybe descendants also get mukti. This connection is there. Now, regarding the spouse, I don't know what would happen by default. I can only say that from what I have read so far, if the spouse has not practiced yoga or has not purified their consciousness, then they would have to take birth again until they also become pure. By default, purity of heart is required to get mukti. Without that, one cannot get. Unless by some fortuitous arrangement, there is Bhagavad Kripa. By Bhagavad Kripa, one may become attracted towards yoga, but then one has to perform yoga to be able to get mukti. Otherwise, one cannot get mukti. So, in my current understanding, if one of the partners gets mukti by virtue of their practice of yoga, the other person need not also get. It's not implied that they will also get, unless they are also involved some way in that same process.
Sir, then the Saat Janmo ka Saath is sort of a fluke, right? I mean, that's not true.
That is true. Normally it is true, but this can break it. Mukti goes against, Mukti breaks everything, no? Mukti breaks one's material existence.
Okay.
So Mukti breaks that cycle. It is normally true.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Jayashree wanted to say something.
Yes, actually, there's a story to answer Udit's question. There is a story in, not story, actually, this is a conversation between Sri Krishna and Satyabhama. This story comes in Padma Purana as well as Skanda Purana. So it is about Kartika Masa Mahatmya. So there Satyabhama is asking Krishna, what have I done in my past life that I am your spouse now? So have I done anything great? So then Krishna says, yes. In your one of your past lives, you were the daughter of a Brahmana. There's a name also, which I forget. And you were called Gunavati. The daughter's name was Gunavati. And the Brahmana, she was, as per her name, she was a very nice girl. And that Brahmana had a disciple who was very obedient to him. So he was very pleased with that disciple and he married Gunavati to that disciple. And they were living peacefully. One day, both the Brahmana and his son-in-law went to the forest to bring Samhita for Yajna, and they were killed by a lion, both of them. Then this Gunavati is now orphaned. So she undertakes Kartika Masa Vrata. So it's a very tough Vrata. They have to follow very strict rules to undergo the Vrata, and she does it throughout her life, and she worships Bhagavan as her Pati Devata. So when she becomes very old, and every year she does this Vrata, and one day when she's extremely old and unable to do anything, in this Kartika Vrata, they have to go to the river and take a dip early in the morning. It will be, very cold in the morning, and in that cold weather, they have to go and take a dip in the river. So she does that, and when she's very old and weak, and in that situation, she goes and she takes a dip in the river, and she leaves her body. And she basically Bhagavan gives her mukti, and he tells Satyabhama that because of Kartika Masa Vrata, you have become my wife. Okay, when we say wife between one clarification here, that when we say husband and wife between Bhagavan and Satyabhama, it is not the husband and wife that we see in the mortal world that we know of. Okay, it's a different kind of association that they have. So he tells her, you were Gunavati and you got mukti, and you have become my, you are a Nitya Mukta now, and your husband and your father, they are, there is one called Akrura. There's one person called Akrura who comes, if you have heard his story, he comes, Akrura is also a bhakta of Bhagwan who comes in the, who lives in Dwarka. He's a mantri of Kamsa.
In the Bhagavatam.
So, yes, in the Bhagavatam, his story comes. He goes to bring Krishna and Balrama to Mathura upon Kamsa's instructions. So he's, the Akrura was your husband. And he's also a Mukta Jiva now. And his, her father is Bhishmaka. Not Bhishmaka, sorry. Satyabhama's father, who Satyajit, I think his name is. So he is also a Mukta Jiva. So all the people who came, who were born in Dwarka were all Mukta Jivas who had done some sort of, vrata to become Mukta Jivas. So to sum up the story, the spouse takes up the vrata and the husband and father both get mukti. So this story proves that. And in Padma Purana also there is another story where you must have heard this Ahalya, Anusuya Devi, the story of the Pativrata story. I think you had told this story once long back in the same class. Okay. So in that Pativrata story, the Pativrata prevents sunrise from happening. And yes. Then Anusuya Devi comes and she, pacifies the Pativrata. And then later on, what happens is the Pativrata and her husband. The husband is not, he's not good, and he's depicted to have certain loose values and all. But still, because of the Pativrata's devotion, she looks upon her husband like Pati Deva. So because of the Pativrata's devotion to her husband, the husband also gets mukti. So these stories are there in the Purana to say that devotion to Bhagavan can, give mukti to the person as well as his associates.
By influencing them in that manner, right?
Yes, yes.
Influencing them.
Understood. Interesting story. Yeah.
And regarding Sarthak's question, I just wanted to add one point there. Yeah. That when we read the Puranas, we encounter many weird stories, especially when you read the Samudra Manthan story, the famous Samudra Manthan story. That story comes in every Purana. It comes in Ramayana as well as Mahabharata. So the Samudra Manthan story is much more to do with our, is much more metaphorical than itihasa, than historical. So, so the Puranic stories are more metaphorical than aitihasika.
Yeah, they are a mix of both. There
yes.
are historical anecdotes narrated there, but there in the Puranas, we don't look for historical information, even though historical narratives are used. We look for the message, the philosophy, the theory of the philosophy. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Professor Ayatakshi raised your hand. I think you're muted.
Yes.
You have to unmute.
Thank you, Jayashree. That's a wonderful anecdote that you have used. And after listening to the anecdote, I have another follow-up question to this, which I was also wondering when I was hearing Sir's lecture on today's, on attachment and then happiness. So, in this context, if I may ask, like, how do we kind of make a distinction between detached bhakti, if I'm framing it right, detached bhakti, and getting attached to that person or object when you are in this material, uh, phase. So, how can you be detached at the same time you have bhakti?
Because of, I think it is similar to the question you asked last time, if I'm right. There is a sense of responsibility. So that way, the people with whom we live, we are devoted to them because of responsibility. We see them as people whom we care for. And I will add one more thing which I didn't mention last time. You see, on the path of bhakti, bhakti after all is what? Bhakti is that process through which we develop pure love, prema. Prema is something that is present in Bhagavan all the time and his Shuddha Bhaktas, but which is not present in us now. We want to have it. We want to have that thing called prema, which is not present in us now. We want to acquire it. So the process of acquiring it is the path of bhakti yoga. And therefore, being inimical towards others is a hindrance to that. In contrast, being friendly, being kind, being loving, affectionate towards others is favorable to bhakti. So therefore, when we live in this world practicing bhakti yoga, we see this world as a stage or as an opportunity for us to do those things by which we attract that prema to ourselves. And therefore, if we are living with our family members, if we are living with our friends or interacting with our friends, we practice affection, right? We learn to be, so along with responsibility is also affection. We live in an affectionate manner, live in a manner where we learn to tolerate their shortcomings, learn to be polite with them, be kind to them, etc. So even though there is detachment, see, detachment means what? Detachment comes from the understanding that nothing belongs to me. Okay, I gave the example of once this, we're traveling on a train. If you're traveling on a train from one place to another place, at the back of our mind, we know that after 24 hours, I'm going to leave this train and go elsewhere. We never think, at least for those 24 hours, we might think that this train or this compartment, this seat belongs to me. This berth is my berth. We say, my berth, my berth. If somebody comes and sits on that berth, we may ask that person to get up and go. But even then, in the back of our mind, we know that we have to leave it one day. We have to leave it after 24 hours. Exactly in the same manner, living in this world in a detached manner means the basic understanding that I have to leave this. This is not mine. This belongs to Bhagavan. So knowing that, we practice the principles of bhakti. We practice responsibility. We practice affection. So both can coexist. The lack of possessiveness because of knowledge and the sense of responsibility and the sense of affection can coexist in bhakti. Does this address your question?
Yes, yes, sir. That definitely addresses my question, and this was in context of husband and wife that we discussed today of the family relationship. At
Yes.
times they become so blind that they kind of get entangled in the emotions, and maybe the bhakti towards each other becomes so intense that they also might be a little selfish towards others.
Yes. So then you know that you are not actually practicing bhakti. It looks like bhakti because of that love towards each other. But if bhakti is mature, then you will learn, we learn how to love a person without becoming possessive of that person. In pure love, there is no possessiveness. You know that person belongs to God. So even if you are not getting what you would have wanted to get from that person for your personal gratification, you will only want to do what is good for that person because you see that person as a part of God, as connected to God. So there is no possessiveness in that. That person is not my property. For example, my wife is not my property, it's a property of Bhagavan. But now in this lifetime, she is with me. Okay, until one of us leaves this world, we will be together. So this understanding is the understanding of lack of possessiveness, which means detachment, along with the sense of affection and love and respect. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Aritaksh, I just wanted to give you a slightly different perspective. See, this detachment can happen only if, I mean, especially when the relation is very, very close, like parent, husband, wife, child, the detachment will happen naturally. The first requirement is you should know the person really well. I mean, first step is to understand the person and then take care of that person's needs, like what the person requires to lead a happy life. Before imposing our likes, desires, or our expectation on the person, first understand the person and then take care of that person's needs, emotional, social, whatever, without crossing the limits. So then the detachment will happen very systematically. Just like, as a child, we are very attached to our parent. But as we grow older, the attachment takes a new form. It is not like complete dependence on the parent. It is now more psychological. And as we grow older, there is attachment and there is detachment also with the parent. So it has to grow very organically, and it is between two individuals. So there is no fixed formula for that. It has to happen very naturally. So just like how we connect with Bhagavan very naturally, each one of us, the same way we have to connect with each person around us very organically.
Thank you, Jayashree.
Thank you, everyone. So we have a couple of more hands. Niharika, would you like to go first?
Yes, sir. Namaskara, sir. Ma'am, I think Jayashree ma'am and you had mentioned couple of stories on bhakti. While I'm getting a lot of clarity, but there is a very recent interesting story that I heard. I was searching for the name. I'm not able to recollect the name of the bhakta, but it is this person who was who was extremely into Vishnu bhakti, and he was also an ardent devout son who takes care of. He was on all wrong paths, and then he gets guidance, gets that thing, and he starts taking care of his parents, mother and father, very very religiously. And then there is a samvad between the bhakta and Vishnu, that will you forget this path of bhakti of your parents that you have taken? And he says, no, I will not forget. And then eventually, he builds a nice home for his parents, like little place, and takes care. So there's one particular night where his parents are sleeping on his lap, and multiple things happen. He's feeling cold, his angavastra flies away, but he stays. Then an insect comes, but he doesn't move, he stays. Then finally, Vishnu appears outside the house to asking, Kisi, I have come dear to meet you. And then he says, you are seeing this, like, if I move, they'll get up. So I can't move. So he says, so what do you want me to do? He says, I'm requesting you to wait till it's morning. So I'm not forgetting. So there's a temple in the same standing. So he says, you won't even offer me a seat. So he pushes this block on which, he requests him to sit down. And in that form, I think there is one temple in Maharashtra. I'm just not forgetting all the names right now, not able to recollect.
Pandharpur.
Pandharpur, yes. So that one. So now, in a little bit of contrast to all the things that we discussed, this I found the story very uniquely different, because here it was, it was a very interesting relationship that this bhakta is sharing with his Almighty, and obviously that's why he is also there. That's why Vishnu is also there for him, and he is waiting like a friend outside. And he's also shown that extreme devotion to his parents. So how do we sort of extend this, because when we are speaking about relationships and worldly material relationships, so
Yes.
yeah.
So that ultimately, see, the very easy way to understand this is to know that what does Sri Bhagavan actually want? When he says perform bhakti to me, it is not that he is looking for some gratification for himself. What does he actually want? He is himself very self-content. He does not need anything from us. He is experiencing perfect happiness within himself. What he wants is that we should be happy. We should experience happiness, contentment, etc. And we should live with each other in a happy, affectionate, and loving manner. He wants love between us. When he sees that, he feels happy. So the essence of bhakti is doing what makes him happy. But what makes him happy is to see us happy, which means living in this world in a happy, affectionate, cooperative, and principled manner. Okay, so it feeds back into the way we live with our own relatives, our own parents, our friends, colleagues, etc. So you can easily see that now this person is doing what Sri Bhagavan wants him to do. He is serving his parents in the best way that he could, right? And so Sri Bhagavan is so happy with that. And he comes there to test him, to test and see whether his commitment to his parents is really as good as it seems to be. And he finds that it is like that. So Sri Bhagavan just stands there, and that's how it's understood that the temple in Pandharpur eventually came up. The deity Vittala, who's there, is there because of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you allow, I would like to add a point to the story which we were talking about.
Sure.
So the versions that I know so far, what happens is that the son is first married off. So he is from a good family, and the parents are Brahmanas, and they are very much dharmic. And what happens is, once he is married off, he does not take care of his parents. So he's not at all treating them the way they should be, and he is ignoring them. So once they go on a pilgrimage, and he is also not very much devout to Bhagavan also. So he's not a very devoted bhakta, nor he is a very devoted son. But he's from a good family, but he's ignoring his parents. But on one pilgrimage, he somehow things happen. Cutting story short, he gets to know that what he's committing is a blunder, and he must serve his parents well. So when he asks everyone to return, and once they reach back, and then he serves his parents with utmost sincerity and with full devotion. And then it becomes the goal of his life that I'll have to do this. Now, seeing his devotion towards his parents, then Vishnu becomes quite happy. And then he comes to bless him that, okay, now I have come to bless you, seeing your devotion to parents. And at that point of time, he was busy serving his parents. He was massaging their feet or something like that. And he said that right now I am a little busy. I can't help you. Can you please wait for some time? So he throws a brick. So in Marathi, we say wheat. So he throws a brick, and then Vitthal is so much pleased that Vishnu is so much pleased that he is so much devoted to his parents. So he stands on that wheat. So whatever ubha vithoba. So that goes the story. So I haven't heard any conflict between, okay, do not serve your parents, only think about me. So I haven't heard. It's only about Vishnu being so much pleased by the devotion to parents that he comes to bless him, and then he stays over in that vigraha form, resting over that brick. So that's the story of Vithala that I know.
Nice. Thank you. So that was from the mouth of a Maharashtrian himself.
Thank you, sir.
I'm so glad that this story has been brought up today, being Ashada. And now all the Varkaris will be going to Pandharpur.
This week, no?
Just this afternoon we were
Oh,
discussing.
Ashad,
Yes.
Ashad Ekadashi is coming up, I think, in the near future. This week, is it this week?
Yes, this Wednesday is Ashad Ekadashi.
Ashad
And
Ekadashi. Pandharpur will be crowded with people. Yes.
yes. I think the story coming up at this time is really a
Not a coincidence.
lot of coincidence. and-
Divine coincidence.
Yes, yes.
Good. So we'll take one last question from Arunabha and then we will close. Arunabha?
So Pranam, sir. So my question is a bit awkward question in the sense that you had brought up the context. Say, suppose in the train compartment, someone takes up the seat. So, given the context of bhakti and given the context of detachment and attachment with the Almighty, say suppose I'm traveling by a train and someone takes up my seat, I can ask the person, "Hey, this is my seat. Please give it to me, so that I can." Yeah, and if the person refuses, then what are my duties and obligations under that context?
You should do what it takes to make the
So
person.
the seat is reserved for.
Yeah. Sorry, I
So
saw
if
it.
the seat is reserved in, yeah. So sorry, I'll repeat the question, sir. Say suppose I'm traveling by a train and
I understood the question. You are saying that if the seat is reserved in your name, but somebody is sitting there, and what should you do? The person refuses.
Yeah.
So you would do whatever practically required to make the person vacate the seat, right? If he has illegally occupied your seat.
but then
Yeah.
But then the thing is, there is a sense of detachment. Then should we detach our rights on the seat also? Should we detach also?
Okay. Detachment does not mean becoming impractical. Detachment only means becoming non-possessive. Means you don't think the seat belongs to you, but you now have to occupy the seat, because unless you have an alternate seat, if you have another seat which is also empty, and that person, so okay, if let's imagine a situation where, let's say, in the next cubicle some similar seat is empty, and nobody will occupy that for the rest of the journey, and this person
No,
is
so suppose that is not the case. That's the only seat that I have.
the only
And
seat
that has been illegally been occupied, quote unquote, illegally been occupied, and the person is not vacating.
Then
Now, given the context,
because you have a purpose, right? See, when we conduct bhakti in this world, it's a seva to Bhagavan, right? And for doing our seva, when seva is being done, and you know that this is the correct way of doing it, you are conscious of doing the seva. If someone comes and disturbs you, then you have to do what it takes to protect your seva. That is the practical response to it. You don't say, "I'm detached and okay, now please run over me. You bring your car and run over me, I'll keep quiet." No, that's not the way it works. Bhakti does not mean becoming foolish. Bhakti requires practical wisdom, the way that we run in this world. Being possessive is different from that. Protecting your property, especially when you're doing seva, is not the same as being possessive. Possessive means the mentality that this eternally belongs to me. It is my property. That is me being possessive or attached. And,
so we are supposed to do our duty and have a devotion to the Almighty. Is that the right way?
Yes, correct. Do our sincerely understand that everything belongs to Him, everything comes from Him, everything will go back to Him. Nothing belongs to me in this world, but my duty is my responsibility. I will do it sincerely, because by doing my duty, He is pleased. Dharma is achieved. This is the way to do dharma, and it's good for society, it's good for Him. I mean, good for Him in the sense, good for me. It's pleasing to Him. So keeping this consciousness, one does their duty.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Arunabha, I just want to look at it in a different way, because we face this situation many times in our life. Suppose if assuming that the seat has been occupied, you do everything within your means to get that seat back, and you get it. So there are two situations: you get it or you don't get it. So suppose when you don't get it, that is where the problem lies, no? So detachment here now means that what impact the situation where you did not get the seat is having on your mind. Whether you're driven by krodha, you're next thinking of what to do, how to fight, or what I should do, what I should file a case, things like that. How that situation impacts your mind for the next course of action is what defines what detachment is there. So
Very
you
nice, very
accept
nice.
that
Yeah.
you accept that yes, this has happened to me. I have to take it in the most rightful way without my mind getting impacted or allowing my mind to get dragged into that krodha, lobha, and those situations. I should keep my mind calm and steady and do the right thing, and then because it's after all a train journey, it will get over.
Right.
I think
So
this is where all of us fail, ma'am.
yeah,
Very
No,
nicely said.
this happens every now and then with all of us, and we encounter these situations everywhere.
so that means, ma'am, I mean, can we say that I mean, bhakti is also a part that we don't get into krodha, lobha, and all those all those stuff. I mean, all those
The krodha should
wrong
not drive you. I mean, the krodha should not
dictate.
dictate. You
Yeah.
should not be guided by I will see what I can do to that person. I will file a case. I will put on Twitter. I will, all these things people do, and they write all sorts of things. You take the right action, okay, wherever required. Depending on the situation, depending on the person. Suppose if an old man is sleeping, then naturally you will be kind enough to
Exactly.
allow.
Right.
Yeah. And if a pregnant
Right.
lady is sleeping, then you will not disturb. So it
Right.
depends on the situation. The point here is how the situation is impacting your thinking.
Yeah.
That is what bhakti,
Right.
guides you. That is what bhakti is telling you.
Yeah. I think her point is very valid. So do whatever it takes, but do it without getting controlled by anger. Anger will come. Anger is a natural thing. As long as we're in this world, we'll experience anger. But the problem is when we succumb to it. We succumb to it and lose control. So
We control anger or anger controls us. I think that is one of your previous class points was there. Yeah.
So keeping that anger under control and keeping our clear thinking at the forefront, thinking clearly, calmly, doing what is intelligent, doing something intelligently to achieve whatever outcome should be achieved. And like she pointed out, if it is somebody who is desperately in need of help, like a very old man or an old woman or somebody who is carrying a baby and they need that birth at that point of time, maybe you will think sacrificing the birth for them is a better option. And if you're able to do it,
Better
then
option. Yeah.
that may be a better option at that time, depending on the situation. If you can manage with somebody else sharing a birth or something, whatever, then if it is possible, then probably we should do that.
Right.
So all the time there is detachment. There is detachment and thinking, what is the right thing to do? What would be the right thing to do at this point of time? If Krishna were in my shoes, if Yudhishthira was in my shoes, what would he do? How would he handle this? Thinking like that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion was very good. Thank you all for this wonderful discussion. In the next class, I will begin chapter 13 of the Gita. And I will also plan to tell a narrative. I'm thinking of the narrative of Ajamila, because Ajamila's narrative also brings many of these points to the forefront, which is in the Bhagavata. So let me see if that happens next week. So,
Sir, a request. Sir, can you share this deck, sir? I mean, this has many points, many bullet points to it. I mean, that would like to inculcate. If you can share the deck, sir, if it's okay.
the word file, I'll share the word file with you. Send me a
For
reminder.
this chapter 12.
Yeah, chapter 12. Okay, sure.
Yeah, sir.
Thank you. So when I'm chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, please chant along with me as we close this. Om स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। थैंक यू ऑल, धन्यवाद।
Pranam, sir.
Thank you. Pranam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
प्रणाम सर।
Pranam, sir.